Brown bottle costs $1.50. You probably have one under your bathroom sink right now. Someone told you it was magic for the garden. Kills fungus, boosts roots, fixes everything. So you grabbed it, went outside, and started spraying. And maybe things looked fine at first, maybe even better. But then something shifted. Plants that were doing well started struggling. A patch that never had problems started browning at the edges. You kept treating it, and the problem kept getting worse, and nobody told you why. I have been using hydrogen peroxide in my garden for over 20 years. I know exactly what it does not do, and, more importantly, the 5 ways people turn a genuinely useful tool into something that quietly works against everything they are trying to grow. Mistake number 4 is the one I see destroy beautiful gardens all summer long while nobody names it. I want to get there, so stay with me. Number 1 is the concentration mistake, and it seems so obvious once someone tells you, but I have watched experienced gardeners make it year after year. The bottle from the drugstore is 3% hydrogen peroxide. That is the right one. That is the one that helps. But somewhere along the way, people started buying the concentrated versions, 6%, 12%, 35% food grade, the kind sold for industrial use or salon work, and bringing it home to their vegetable beds and flower borders thinking more concentration means more benefit. Trust me on this one. 35% hydrogen peroxide is not just a stronger version of what you have in your medicine cabinet. It is a completely different thing. It will bleach your skin on contact. On plants, it does not invigorate. It burns. It scorches root tissue from the inside, strips the protective layer off leaves, and in enough quantity, it can sterilize your soil so thoroughly that it takes years to come back to life. 3% from the pharmacy, clearly labeled, is all you ever need. If the bottle does not say 3%, it does not belong anywhere near your garden beds. Number 2 is the one that caught me off guard. In the one season I was sure I was doing everything right. Do not spray hydrogen peroxide on your plants in direct sunlight. I know it sounds like a minor detail, but here's what actually happens. The solution hits the leaf surface, and instead of doing its gentle oxygenating work and drying evenly, it pools in the tiny droplets sitting on the leaf. Those droplets act as magnifiers under direct sun. The leaf burns underneath them. You get pale spots first, then brown tips, then leaves that curl and dry from the edges inward. I lost an entire patch of basil one August this way. I thought it was a fungal problem and kept treating it. It was not fungal. It was me, spraying at noon on a bright day, making the damage worse every single time I tried to fix it. Spray in the early morning before the sun gets high, or in the evening after it has dropped. That is when hydrogen peroxide does what you actually want it to do. Number 3 is the one I wish someone had told me in my first years of gardening, because I saw it play out slowly and painfully before I understood what I was looking at. Never apply hydrogen peroxide to dry, already stressed plants. This is where people go wrong, especially in hot summers. They see plants struggling. They reach for the peroxide because they heard it helps with root problems and disease, and they apply it when the plant is already thirsty and under pressure. Dry plant tissue has no buffer. The cells at the root level are contracted. Hydrogen peroxide on drought-stressed roots does not invigorate them. It damages tissue that has nothing left to absorb the shock. Water your plants first. Give them a good drink. Let them settle for an hour. And then if you're treating the soil or roots with a peroxide solution, do it when the plant is hydrated and the ground already has some moisture in it. A healthy, well-watered plant can handle the treatment. A thirsty one cannot. This is actually the exact kind of thing I built the Lazy Garden blueprint around. The idea that your plants should never be fighting more than one problem at a time. The lazy layer method is a 30-day system built so the soil stays healthy and the plants stay strong enough that treatments like this actually work when you need them. It is on screen if you want to look at it. But there is still one mistake left that I have never heard anyone talk about plainly, and it is the one ruining more gardens than the other 4 combined. Number 4 is what I call the more is better trap. Hydrogen peroxide works by releasing oxygen when it contacts organic material. That burst of oxygen is what kills pathogens, loosens compaction, and gives root systems a temporary lift. But your garden soil is alive. There are beneficial fungi, bacteria, earthworms, and microorganisms in healthy soil that your plants depend on for nutrient uptake, for water retention, for natural disease resistance. When you apply hydrogen peroxide too frequently, once a week, twice a week, every single watering because you figure it can only help, you're not just targeting the pathogens, you're disrupting the entire living system underground. Plants growing in soil with a depleted microbial population start to look like they have nutrient deficiencies, even when you have been feeding them. They cannot absorb what is already there. I have seen gorgeous raised beds go from thriving to tired in a single season because someone added peroxide to every single watering, thinking they were giving the garden an advantage. Use it when there's a clear reason: fungal problems, root rot, heavy compaction. After a long stretch of rain, when you want to reoxygenate the soil, not as a habit, not on a weekly schedule. Treat it like medicine, not like a vitamin. Number 5 is the one that still makes me wince a little when I think about how many seedlings I lost before I understood it. Seedlings and freshly rooted cuttings are not the same as established plants, and they cannot be treated the same way. Their root systems have no buffer. They are still building the tissue that will eventually protect them. A 3% hydrogen peroxide solution that a mature tomato plant handles without a second thought can damage the fine root hairs of a 2-week-old seedling or a cutting that only just started to root. If you need to treat seedlings for damping off, for example, which is a real problem and one where a diluted peroxide solution genuinely helps, mix 1 part 3% peroxide with 4 or 5 parts water. That is the ratio I use on anything young and tender, and I have never lost a seedling to the treatment itself using that mix. The full-strength 3% solution is for established plants with established roots. I wasted 3 summers figuring this out so you don't have to. Hydrogen peroxide is one of the most useful things I know of for a home garden. $1.50, no harsh chemicals, effective on fungal problems and root rot and soil compaction. But the reason it has a bad reputation in some gardening circles, the reason people say it didn't work or made things worse, is almost always one of these 5 things. Wrong concentration, wrong time of day, dry or stressed plants, used too often, too freely, applied to seedlings at full strength. Fix all 5, and you have a tool that earns its place in the garden shed every single season. Now, knowing what not to do is half of it. The other half is building a garden that does not need you standing over it every week, diagnosing problems in the first place. That is what I put together in the Lazy Garden Blueprint, a 30-day system built around the lazy layer method, which is a way of combining plants so the garden is healthy from the ground up. Less disease pressure, better soil life, fewer crises to treat. It is the garden I wish I had known how to build in my first 10 years, and everything in it came from actual seasons in actual beds, not theory, I kept watching good gardeners struggle with the same avoidable setup mistakes I made early on, and eventually I sat down and wrote out everything I had learned. It cost something because it took real time. The link is on screen. If you want a garden that rewards you instead of one that calls you outside every weekend to fix something, that's where to look. Now go check that bottle under the sink. Make sure it says 3%. See you in the next one.